You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet distance in a crowded room. That subtle disconnect in conversations that seem easy for everyone else. Like you're watching life happen, instead of moving naturally inside it. You try to blend in. You study how people talk, how they react, how they belong. And for a moment, it almost works. But then something shifts. A thought you can't ignore. A question no one else is asking. A depth that doesn't quite fit into surface-level spaces. And just like that, you feel it again. That separation. So you start wondering, why am I like this? Why does everything feel heavier, deeper, more intense? Why can't I just be normal? And the most dangerous question of all creeps in quietly. What if something is wrong with me? But listen carefully. What you're feeling isn't a flaw, it's awareness. You notice things others overlook. You feel things others avoid. You question things others accept without thinking. And that doesn't make life easier. It makes it real. See, most people are comfortable staying on the surface. They follow patterns. They repeat cycles. They fit into systems that were never designed to be questioned. But you were never built for autopilot. That discomfort you feel, it's not rejection. It's misalignment. You're trying to force yourself into spaces, conversations, and expectations that were never designed for the way your mind works, or the way your spirit moves. And deep down, you know that. That's why pretending drains you. That's why small talk exhausts you. That's why being understood feels rare, but unforgettable when it happens. You don't lack connection. You lack the right connection. There's a difference. And here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, where do I actually belong? Because the truth is, you're not too much. You're not out of place. You're not broken. You're just not meant for everywhere. And once you stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that can't hold you, everything changes. Your voice becomes clearer. Your energy becomes lighter. Your presence becomes undeniable. So no, this isn't something to fix. It's something to understand. And once you do, you won't just feel different anymore. You'll finally feel aligned. You've always felt different. Think back to when you were younger, before you had the words for it, before you learned how to explain yourself. You just felt it. You noticed the small shifts in people's tone. You picked up on energy in a room without anyone saying a word. You asked questions that made others pause or go quiet. And even then, you knew you weren't seeing the world the same way they were. So you adapted. You laughed when they laughed. You stayed quiet when it felt safer. You adjusted pieces of yourself just to feel included. But no matter how well you played the part, something inside you kept whispering, "This isn't really me." It felt like you were observing your own life as it happened, like you were present, but never fully placed. And that feeling, it didn't come from confusion. It came from awareness. Because deep down, you weren't struggling to fit in. You were sensing that you weren't meant to. And what you didn't realize back then is that this difference wasn't random. It was a signal, a sign that your mind, your perspective, your depth were wired for something most people never even question. But here's the part most people miss. That feeling didn't just show up for no reason. It was trying to point you somewhere. And once you see where it's been leading you this whole time, you won't be able to unsee it. Your path has been hard. Let's be honest. Your life hasn't followed the easy route. You've carried weight you couldn't always explain, faced moments that changed you before you were ready, learned lessons that most people don't encounter until much later. And in those quiet moments, you've asked, why me? Why does it always feel this heavy? Because from where you stood, it didn't look like growth, it looked like struggle. But here's the shift. What if those moments weren't random? What if they weren't meant to break you, but to build capacity? Every time you adapted, endured, or kept going when it didn't make sense, you were being shaped, not into someone ordinary, but into someone aware, resilient, and deeply grounded. Because easy paths create comfort, but difficult paths, they create depth. They sharpen your perspective. They strengthen your instincts. They force you to become someone who can handle more, see more, be more. So maybe it wasn't punishment. Maybe it was preparation. And if that's true, then everything you've been through isn't just part of your past. It's training for what you're meant to step into next. You outgrow people fast. This one hurts the most. You connect with people, and then slowly, you don't. Conversations feel forced. Energy feels off. What once clicked no longer does, so you try to ignore it. You show up the same way. You replay old dynamics. You tell yourself nothing's changed, but it has. And here's the tension. Do you stay and shrink just to keep the connection? Or do you pull away and risk being misunderstood? Because people will notice. They'll say, you've changed. They'll feel your distance, but they won't see this part. You're not leaving out of ego. You're not disconnecting out of pride. You're evolving. And every time you grow, something no longer fits. So it's not that you're leaving people, you're leaving versions of yourself behind. And not everyone is meant to meet you where you're going. You crave depth. Small talk, it drains you. Not because you can't do it, but because it feels empty. You can sit in a room full of people, laugh, nod, play along, and still feel disconnected. Because while everyone talks about trends, you're thinking about what's real. You don't want surface level updates. You want meaning, truth, depth, something that actually matters. But here's the gap. Not everyone meets you there. So you hold back, you simplify yourself, you keep conversations light, even when you don't want to. And over time, it gets exhausting, because you're not asking for too much, you're just not fulfilled by less. That's why you can feel alone, even in a crowd, because being surrounded isn't the same as being understood. You go through lonely seasons. There are times when everything goes quiet, fewer calls, fewer messages, less connection than you're used to. And in that silence, your mind starts asking, did I do something wrong? Did I lose people? It feels like distance, like something slipped away without warning. And for a moment, it hurts, because humans are wired for connection. But listen carefully, not every empty space means you've been rejected. Sometimes it means you've been removed, not as punishment, but as protection. Because certain environments, habits, even people can't go where you're going. And when it's time to grow, life creates space. Space to think, space to reset, space to become. It may feel like loneliness on the surface, but underneath, it's alignment happening quietly. So don't rush to fill the silence. Don't force your way back into places you've outgrown, because this season, it's not here to isolate you. It's here to prepare you. If this felt personal, if you caught yourself nodding at more than one of these signs, then pay close attention. This isn't random. This is confirmation. Confirmation that there is nothing wrong with you. You are different, not by accident, not because you failed to fit in. You were designed this way, for deeper thinking, for greater awareness, for experiences that most people will never understand. So stop scrolling past it like it's nothing. Type, "I am different for a reason," in the comments. Own it. Say it out loud. Let it settle in your bones. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you've already outgrown. Stop apologizing for being more sensitive, more curious, more intense than others. Stop questioning what was intentionally placed inside you. You're not lost. You're not behind. You're simply being shaped. Every challenge you faced, every lonely season, every misalignment, it's all part of the refining process. It's preparing you for a purpose that few will see, and even fewer will understand. And when the time comes, everything about your journey, every twist and turn, every struggle will make sense. You'll see that the moments you felt out of place weren't mistakes. They were markers guiding you toward your true path. So stay ready, stay patient, stay awake, because the world is waiting for the version of you that only these experiences could create. And when that version shows up, there will be no question why you were always different.